process of sadhana bhakti, this chanting of the Hare Krishna, and will eventually lead one to the point where you can actually see the Lord face to face. And he like boldly proclaims that all the time, and all the Shastras proclaim that if you, by this process of sadhana bhakti, you'll actually go to see the Lord face to face. And he goes even further, that you can have the Lord as your friend, as your parent, as your son, or as your conjugal lover. And so that is the potency of Srila Prabhupada's books, Srila Prabhupada's words, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, like the holy name, and this whole Krishna consciousness movement, is that you can actually physically see the Lord face to face. So that is the really nice thing about this movement and this process, is that there's an actual, end goal here, right? There's something you can actually have as a goal, and you can take the steps slowly to actually work towards that goal. So, all our life and our past previous life also, we have been, like pointlessly sort of wandering around, right? And like a lot of people, they'll have some sort of passion. They'll say like music is my life or whatever, and then they'll make their entire life about music, and or whatever passion or whatnot, right? And other people like it's called within Sanatana Dharma also, it's called karma kanda or fruitive activities, and so they'll perform a vrata so that they can have to ensure that they have a really nice prosperous life, and that to make sure that they have financial stability, house stability, family stability, that hope like my wife doesn't give trouble to me, and so on and so forth. And so people do all these ratas, right? And they even do ratas to ensure that in their next life they have a prosperous life, to make sure hopefully have a good wife in my next life also, like that, so on and so forth. And so all these things are there in the Vedas as karma kanda. But the potency of this Krishna consciousness movement, that has been started by Lord Chaitanya and propagated throughout the whole world by Srila Prabhupada, is that don't take any more lives. You've been doing this for so many times. Stop taking more lives, right? And so that's what Srila Prabhupada actually came to the US and circled the whole world to do, is because he saw so many people that they were just living pointlessly for their own sense gratification and whatnot. And he saw us just, if you look into our future, you can see that, that by the way we're living our life, we're going to take another life, right? And so he saw that, and he's like, I don't like this at all. So that's the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, right? Is that first he is an acharya who descended from the spiritual sky. So when you look at what Vaikuntha is, right, the pleasure that of Vaikuntha is known as the place of no anxiety, right? And so compared to the Srimad Bhagavatam gives the comparison of pleasure from the material world and the spiritual world, and says that if you take the greatest accomplishment or the greatest pleasure that you've ever had on earth, and you multiply it by thousands and millions of times, that pleasure that you have multiplied doesn't even compare to a fraction of a drop of pleasure that you gain in the spiritual world, in Vaikuntha. So you can imagine the sort of pleasure that Srila Prabhupada would have had in Vaikuntha, right? And so just for the sake of delivering us, right, to actually give us this process, he left all of that, and he took so much misery to come down here, right? And even in India, in Vrindavan, he's living so nicely. We visited, when we went to Vrindavan this summer, the Radha Damodar Mandir, and we saw the kutir where Srila Prabhupada nicely stayed. And he even said, this temple is my life and soul. So, but then he left all of that, just, he, essentially penniless he was, no money when he left to the United States. And so even if you've heard of Nivrindavan, it's a place in West Virginia where Srila Prabhupada stayed for some time. And so we got to see the actual, like, the house and living conditions where Srila Prabhupada stayed, right? And so just to take his morning bath, to be clean, he had to take a dip in a freezing cold lake. We got to see the lake itself where he took his morning bath. And so it was freezing cold. So these austerities, that Prabhupada went for us, it's just unimaginable, To, like, who's gonna go from that very comfortable situation to take a shower in the freezing cold? You don't have that kind of cold in India itself. So so we're so fortunate that that we're living in such a situation. This is my sort of spiritual understanding. I just want to share my realization, and if I only have one realization, is that we're so fortunate that we're born in such a time where we have such access to this spiritual knowledge, right? That and if you look at someone who is born in a third world country, who is struggling to just survive, right? Their whole day is just frantically thinking about how am I going to get money so I can eat, right? And so when your whole life you're just thinking about that only, the very basic needs, then you can't think about anything higher, right? You can't think of what is the purpose of life, why am I here, what am I struggling for? So just my realization is that we have a really nice situation now where we're able to easily practice and we're able to easily think about the purpose of life and what's higher. So my realization is that we're given this such nice opportunity, and Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya have gone to such great lengths to give us this opportunity. So my realization is we should not squander this opportunity. Now we finally, after so many lives, and we would have acquired such lots of good karma to actually be put into the situation, and the mercy of devotees and so on and so forth. So we should not squander this opportunity, that now we've gotten the knowledge of the Hare Krishna mantra, we should not leave it, essentially. So that's all.
Hare Krishna.